What's tough for me, and you know, to kind of elaborate on, well, we'll drive over to the boat, you know.
Yeah, mind if I ride with you?
Yeah, of course. My issue, with that court case is, so I'll let you in on something. Steevie told me she made the decision to open fire on those individuals. Point blank. She told me. She was the first person I encountered. She was the highest ranking officer on duty. And I was playing the mayor, hearing the complaint coming from members of HADES. And, you know, I hear things like, I'm going to do some crazy shit like Hell Week, this and that. I have to service those kind of calls. And I, very similar to many other situations, said, no, that's crazy. That teaches nobody any lessons. You don't get justice. You get a momentary, like, bit of pleasure, right? Or a momentary feeling that you got, like, recompense. But it has no long-term effect. In fact, it makes matters worse because it turns from you being a, you know, and obviously they did a robbery, but let's just, for simplicity's sake, you go from having a valid complaint. You go from having like a valid complaint as a fucking and like victim in some sense to literally being the reason. You make it easier for them to justify doing this to other people in the future. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna go make a complaint. First person I spoke to was Steevie. She said, yeah, I fucking opened fire. And just kind of sitting there in that room, I just couldn't help but feel like this is just one big fucking cover up. Like, what's the worst that happens? Yeah, I made a mistake. I should have stopped him. Why? What's on the line? A couple measly dollars that the county, that their budgets are going to resolve? No.
Yeah.
Right? Instead, I sit back and I'm like, these people shouldn't have jobs. I can't help but feel that way because it's not about this situation anymore. It's about every future situation I personally would be concerned with. I don't know. Does that make any sense?
No, it does, because it's, for some reason, we have this culture that's been established where they have to maintain this image that every officer is perfect and that they paint themselves that way constantly, but the rest of the world understands they're not perfect. And if they would just accept accountability every once in a while and be like, yeah, we make mistakes, then things would be a lot easier. But I think that's the biggest part of contention between the police department and the general community at large is the police department refuses to acknowledge the fact that they aren't perfect. And they constantly tout the fact that they are perfect.
Yeah. You know, I spoke to Turner earlier today about my encounter with, you know, with the whole strawberry stop. And I think the conversation went well. And he understood my perspective. I said, look, it's been a week. Oh, you good?
Ow. Yeah, fine. Just trip.
I told him it's been a week, and how come I haven't heard back yet? And I tried to explain to him that if this happens in front of me, then I'm going to assume it happens to people that have no way to fight back. And most people literally just want that hour, 2 hours. It's been handled. We spoke to them, or even get us in a room together, and that's all they want, right? Is like a my bad, or hey, I looked at it this way. And then it doesn't need to amount into anything more than that. People got their sense of something was done about it, right? No, like, I don't need a firing, I don't need a suspension, but like you're saying, it's like this incessant need to prove to themselves that they're blemishless. And that's not a healthy paradigm.
No. I mean, I've embraced the times that I fucked up, you know. I tell people, yeah, I fucked up. I learned from it. Hell, you can ask Benji Ramos. I've literally told the guy directly, hey, when I handled this situation with you all, I fucked up. And I take accountability for it, and changes are made.
Yeah.
I learned from it.
More trust is built in that way, you know?
Yeah. Which is why I think some gangs don't really care when marshals roll through their block. Like, I can... Like, PD flip the fuck out when I go down to the Manor Street on Grove.
Really?
And I'll literally go down there and just collect evidence. And Manor doesn't give a shit. They're like, hey, Barrett, what's going on? I was like, I'm just cleaning up blood and projectiles. Because, you know, I'm not going to fuck around. I'm literally just cleaning up the street.
Yeah.
Prettier. I'll bring the trash to the curb and shit like that. We call it scene sanitation. And the real goal there is whenever it's to clean evidence out so that in the event we have an incident in that area, we have more faith that the evidence is relevant to the actual incident. And so that's a task the marshals do when they don't have anything, like if they're in between interrogations, interviews, or reports and stuff like that, is they go do scene sanitation. They just clean out major areas of evidence and shit.
Well, I came to the realization after this particular situation, and then also having gone through that entire readout on Mason-Dixon, I do not believe the PD will ever, in no time soon, be held accountable. Eventually, it might get there, right? But it's months away based on the trajectory. And that, in and of itself, creates a hazard to public safety. So I have decided, and it wasn't just that incident. I've been cooking for a minute. Why doesn't legislation keep people accountable? So, and I'm going to explain. And this is going to sound really fucked up, but I'm going to say it anyways because, you know, I took 2 days off, and one of the things that popped up on my recommend feed was the whole shooting of the CEO from like U.S. Health or whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah.
Now it's turned into a very interesting case. Now keep in mind that that I watch a lot of these videos, police encounters, some that are pro officer, some like, you know, investigate, like, you know, fucking, like I watch like interrogations, like 2 hour long where they break someone down. But on the flip side too, where they're analyzing like the case and whatever. Well, what's interesting, and don't take my word for this, right? It could have been biased, is that in that particular suit with the Luigi motherfucker, well, it turns out that the defense for over 8 months now has yet to get their discovery information, which is going well beyond the standards by which the defense should be able to get it. And part of their allegations that they're putting forward is that this Luigi guy, when he was found, apparently was fully masked. Like he had a COVID mask up and a hat or something along those lines. And at the time of him getting spotted, it was some like random guy at McDonald's calls it in. Officers come in, surround him, block the door, demand him take the mask off, demand an ID. In other words, they're still they apparently didn't have any RS. And now it's not this particular case, by the way, to be very clear, is not the reason why I'm doing this, but rather it did highlight some, it just happened to be the thing I watched that highlighted some things that I've forgotten we don't have. Number one, consensual encounters. Number two, what is reasonable suspicion? What is probable cause? We have we have Terry versus Ohio, but we actually only snip into common law the bit about frisking. Whereas Terry v. Ohio, alongside I think two or three other...
It's much more expensive.
Yes.
Terry v. Ohio goes into a lot more stuff. Like when you actually especially any of our case law that we use, people take very small snippets of what it is, and I'm like, okay, do we actually accept the whole case law?
No,
like
we don't.
Judgment or anything? Like, then why do they reference it if we don't accept the whole thing? Because I've even had arguments in court where I'm like, it goes into much more further things, right?
Exactly
like
that.
Pennsylvania versus Mims is way more expensive than people give it credit for.
Oh, you and I are on the same page. Terry v. Ohio only reads in our common law, a police officer may stop a suspect on the street and frisk him or her without probable cause to arrest. And if the person, so in other words, it's only talking about stop and frisk based on reason. But Terry vs. Ohio actually is a basis from which reasonable suspicion stems from. So I came to the realization is that why some of the most crucial components of our legal system for detainment and arrest don't exist. So I'm going to put it in the legislation. I'm going to expand even further, and I'd like to bring California traffic stop law, some of it, the traffic stop law, to... Did I tell you about this? I want to bring that in. Got to give name, badge number, reason for... Oh, we did talk about this, and you mentioned that you should be able to ask for the name or the ID prior to giving the reason, right? And, yeah. So, that's something that I'm very... And this includes, I want to, like, redo the search warrant, search and seizure legislation, because holy fuck is it dog shit. It's...
you mentioned Terry vs. Ohio. I think there's another factor about that we highly misunderstand. When officers are patting people down in San Andreas, for some reason they also feel around for anything that might feel like a big round wad of bills or baggies and things like that, and identifying that, and that officers are acting on that information that they get from seeing that, and that's literally against Terry vs. Ohio.
You're saying that people can say feel a wad of cash and know it's cash? Could you give me a working example? Because I think I know what you're talking about, because someone had kind of mentioned to me that that PD is trained to feel more than a bulge nowadays.
Yes. Yeah, they're feeling for... They typically are trained to feel for 3 things. And that's big wads of cash, baggies, and weapons. Big bulges. And, hold on, it's the chief. Let me hang up on him like he did earlier on me.
This is a Nino unlock. I don't know this on Nino.
And in Terry vs. Ohio, it established that, yes, you can frisk them for weapons if you fear for officer safety, but that the scope must be limited to that. Like, if you feel what you think are baggies in there, you can't... That doesn't just immediately grant you the authority to search them for bags of marijuana and cocaine and shit like that. You have to have other... Like, it can be used in conjunction with other things, but you can't use it as your singular piece of PC. Because the scope for a frisk is limited to... In Terry vs. Ohio, the scope of your frisk is limited to the search for weapons. And so if I'm searching for a gun and I don't feel a gun, but man, I feel this crinkly round bag in here that has the consistency of marijuana, well, you can't squeeze the bag. The frisk doesn't include squeezing and feeling the temperance of the bag and things like that. That would be exceeding your scope of searching for a weapon.
Yeah.
But if you're like, that kind of it made a little crinkle sound when I flat-handed my palm against it, and I did get a drug call in this area a little bit more recently. You can use that in conjunction with other evidence to help build PC, but it can't be your PC. And that unfortunately is lost way. It's been lost so long ago because the officers just go back to their training of, oh, I feel drugs, it must be drugs, I now have PC to search you. And so they're using this whole concept of, oh, there's a 1032 in this area, I'm going to go frisk every single person in this area. Like, they're literally just detaining everyone in like a quarter-mile radius of the area and frisking everybody. Like, that's... No, you don't... That's exceeding the scope of your Terry vs. Ohio frisk. But even if you do, they're just finding reasons to frisk people and looking for drugs and then searching them further off that.
Yeah, and I think establishing some of those things in a legislation, I think, is very important. Where I'm sort of now taking the approach of saying law enforcement cannot be accountable, so legislation is necessary to protect them. And it's kind of the same approach as to why certain prop bills came about and why certain bills were passed. It's because it's kind of like body cams. Why did they arrive? Because there's an understanding and belief that there was some fishy shit going on. So those levers, so some of those things need to be put into place. But I would subsequently say that by doing so, it's also helping law enforcement in its own way, as it establishes clearer grounds so that they themselves aren't desperately having to fill a court case with 80% of why their RS or PC did exist. That should be like a simple 2-3 question thing. They turn on to full-blown fucking debates nowadays.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like every day something else gives me reason to lose faith in the police department and our justice system in general.
Michael has written a writ up for me. I think I'm going to post it. Just to be clear, it's not because of just that conversation. I'd already planned to do this. They did expedite it a bit. I think it's sideways when the governor is discussing restructuring SASM's head, that a director just out of the blue is now being brought in after this whole conversation starts up. It's a dastardly. It's not healthy for the marshals or anything, quite frankly. It's so.
Damn, the ocean is calm today. What the fuck?
Yeah, it does get pretty bad sometimes.
Yeah, I was noticing how smooth it is out here right now. I mean, it's not super smooth, it's not lake smooth, but
yeah, it does. Yeah, you're not wrong. Sometimes the waves are fucking absolutely fucking incredible. I could have sworn there was something very, like, a little bit more pressing that I don't want to bring up with you, but I'm gonna be honest. I think I got cooked out of my head.
Yeah, we got kind of bland. I mean, I was talking about the casing thing, where I had a member of command they made a command report that was calling out the marshals for a misunderstanding. So apparently somebody, so I've been telling you about the scene sanitation things. So Abigail, our night shift marshal, right? She goes around and she just digs. She looks for information. She's a data collector like I am.
Yeah.
And she was walking around in Mission Row PD, and they have their little incineration trash bin in the armory, right?
Right.
She poked around and found like 3 firearms there, and she was like, "What the fuck? Why are there firearms in here? That's evidence." Like, it doesn't matter if you find them on the street and nothing comes back to them. You throw them into a fucking report locker. They're evidence. If something comes up in the future, you want to trace them back to where they came from, right?
I believe that. Hey, I'm at the SIP docks.
Yeah, almost done here. I got apparently one more. I can't imagine his will take that long.
Oh my Jesus fucking Christ!
I'm dying. Right. I'm dying. Okay.
All right. You take it. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, that is very strange.
But then she ran them, and one of them was hot to 13 times attempted murder.
Oh!
And she was like, "What the fuck?" And so after that, we were like, "Okay, that's fucking wild." And then later that night, that same night, she went back to just go double check the evidence bunker, and there was casings, projectiles, and blood in there. And she was like, "What the fuck? And why is there evidence here?
Yeah.
If you're collecting evidence, why isn't this it's literal evidence? Why isn't this in a report?" And so she just generated a state marshal report and threw them in there. And more of them came back to, like, when we traced them back to see, like, okay, what incidents had all of these projectiles and casings involved in them.
Yeah.
And it was casings and projectiles from another incident. So it was literally further evidence from that same incident that didn't get into the locker.
Lord have mercy.
And we're like, what the fuck? Why is this doing this? So we brought it up as, hey, we're concerned because we're finding evidence from incidents that we can, like, we're doing the legwork on this, and these are coming back to real incidents. And so we started doing checks on the trash locker, because it's happening a lot. Like, literally every couple of hours we go there, there's more evidence and more guns in that trash bin.
You mentioned something about shooting on the roof or something. I was under the impression that that's what it was mostly about.
Well, and that's what it led towards that. So initially we were making state marshal reports about that because we didn't want to flood the report system with all of our trash clearing, right? But then we had an incident where I didn't know this, but when you can't see a report, you can still see the evidence in the report.
Huh?
And
What do you mean?
A state marshal, like
Oh,
police can't
so you
see
make a
state
marshal report, you add evidence to it. When you search for that evidence, it finds the report.
It finds the report.
Yo,
but you can't access
no
the
way.
report. And so that's what we found out was that they can do that, but they can't access the report. So they caught the gun from one of our reports, and they didn't charge him with a hot gun because they were like, well, there's a state marshal report. We wanted to make sure, and it's a legitimate reason.
Sure.
They didn't want to charge him because they didn't know if there was a hot gun involving a major incident because they saw a state marshal report. And they were like, fuck, I don't want to charge him a hot gun in case we're missing something big if the marshals are looking into it. And we were like, no, it was literally just a trash cleaning thing. We were just documenting it. I didn't realize it. I was like, oh, fuck, well, I didn't know you guys could see that. And that you guys, like, it made sense in the time to be like, okay, well, instead of making state marshal reports, let's just make them regular reports so they can see that there is no issues with it. And we write in the body of the report, there are no criminal charges attached to this. So that way they can see it and go, okay, there's nothing, I don't have to do anything with this, I can just go to the next report. Apparently that pissed off command. And they wrote a message to us in their command reports. Instead of reaching out to us directly, they wrote a command report for the attention of state marshals. It was basically blasting us for going through their trash and taking evidence, and that we don't need to audit them. And
who did this? Who wrote it?
Viv. And me and Dark was
with
like,
all due respect to our zero respect, that's not her lane. Why isn't she going to her chain of command?
I mean, if she would have just reached out to us directly, we could have cleared it up. But instead she made this angry,
made a drama post.
Threat, made a drama post on the command reports about it. And she was like, one of your reports was tagged with audit, and I was like, I didn't use that.
Oh my god, it's called MDT.
Like MDT shit happens. I mark it was like usually every single other one. She was like, I don't know why you're auditing our trash can. I was like, I'm not. Somebody must have added that tag on there.
That's why they didn't finish the Quangle thing.
I was like, if you look at the other 50 reports I've done, none of them have the audit tag. Why do you think this is any different? This
the
is
first letter, the middle letter, and the last letter.
Oh my god.
It's they post in there about their shit. This is what I heard about the Quangle thing. They've been just ranting about my complaint and how I don't have why I have a problem with Romello instead of like, hey, this guy's literally illegally detaining and stalking the mayor and friends over nothing.
I'm not going to comment on their communications for you.
Oh my god, fucking damn it.
But that's what it came down to. It was like one of the reports was marked with audit, and it made all of us feel a certain way. And you guys are looking into this way too deeply. And I was like, did you actually read the report? Because the report literally says there's nothing wrong with this. It's just ballistics testing on the roof. And somebody added the audit tag. I don't know how it got on there, but it doesn't mean anything. It must.
Well, I mean, yeah, but even if it said audit literally just means like accounting, right?
Yeah. And I'm pretty much the only person that uses the audit tag, and I use it as a temporary bookmark because I already have I have so many bookmarks, and whenever I'm doing a quick research on a series of reports, I'll tag them with audit so I can go back and find them really quickly, and then when I'm done, I clear the audit tag off.
When you audit your own finances, you're not saying my finances are wrong. You're making sure everything is up to snuff. That's all it means.
Yes, exactly.
It doesn't have a negative connotation.
You're coming at us. Well, it does if you're doing wrong and you're trying to defend yourself. That conversation led up to a thing about, so what's the issue with casings and stuff being in there? And I was like, it's evidence. She's like, yeah, but we go do ballistics testing all the time, and we just toss that shit. I was like, that's evidence from the gun. What do you mean?
Yeah. So am I understanding this correctly? Is that they're testing guns and then throwing the test evidence away?
Yeah, they just throw the test evidence away. And
so then, how do you know that they tested it properly? How do you scrutinize that in court?
And they should do the ballistics testing for all those things, or at least just whenever they test it, make a notation in the report. I know putting the ballistics testing in the report can fuck with the VR system, and so that's why they don't.
Put it in report.1 or some shit. You know what I mean?
Apparently, .1 also will sometimes attach to the main report.
I'm sure there is some way. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I argue that the local forensic guy tests every gun automatically for you. I don't know why we need to do ballistics tests when you give them to the forensic guy, and they literally test it right there and put the report for you.
Oh.
But they were like, yeah, we just have to do this. And I was like, okay.
Wait.
That's something worth talking to the federal government about, is do you really need to if the fucking local
evidence
tech tests it every time? I was trying to
wait a minute, that actually makes a lot of sense. From the little bit.
I was trying to argue with them to do less work, and they're getting upset about it.
What you're saying actually makes a lot of sense, to be honest. Because if you have the gun, that gun, from what I've seen in reports, is linked irrespective of... Wait, why the fuck are they firing the gun?
They're running on the old procedure, and I guess they're still just doing what they think they have to do.
Oh my god.
But
wait a minute!
It also came
I don't
up
think he's wrong.
Of incidents where police officers go to the roof and they fucking air it out. You know, they get a cool new class 2 and they're like, I'm going to do ballistics testing, and then they air out the whole fucking magazine. And I'm like, you should collect all those casings. Like, really, they collect all the casings? Like, yes, that's literally every piece of gun, every round that's in the gun. Like, the amount of ammo that's left in a magazine is evidence. It's like, oh, well, he testified. Yeah, I had all of my magazines were full when I started this whole thing. Okay, and there's only one bullet missing from the magazine, so we should find one casing on the ground. Easy, that lines up. But when we find, like, for example, all right, we had an incident where in the marshals every time we get guns and stuff like that, we document all, like, how many bullets are left in the gun gets documented too. And I never see police do that. And because it helped us once, we had a car left on scene that we were certain was involved in the situation. It was illegally parked, so we were like, okay, we'll get it impounded and stuff like that because it was illegally parked on federal or on state territory. And inside of it, it had an empty SMG magazine, right? The suspect was found with the SMG and all of his magazines were full. But we found a bunch of casings from that SMG. And we used that evidence to be like, oh, all of his magazines were full, including the one that was in the gun, but there was an empty magazine in the car connecting him to the car. Because where else would he get? He obviously shot from there. He was GSR positive. There was casings on scene from the gun, an empty magazine in the car. All of his magazines were full. Obviously, he put the magazine in the car, tying him to the vehicle. And it's like every little thing is evidence. Every little thing is data. And for some reason, the police department just doesn't see
the value. They
don't see the value of anything.
We're talking about kindergarten cop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's what it is, right? Like, even what you're describing right now, there's no easy way. I know what you're saying, and I know what the issue is. It's just hard to describe it. Is that you're talking about things for what they are versus what a computer system is telling them it is at a surface level, right? Like,
well, and it's also worse because they literally just do the quickest thing. They just see the bare bones of what they need to do, and they do it, and they don't expect anything more. And I'm like, I don't understand why Patrol refuses to explain, like, the importance of documenting things.
Right.
Like, when you collect evidence from something, I was trying. Give me an example. I was trying to research just while I'm in the courtroom. I'm trying to create intelligence documents about these 24/7 robberies. And almost every 24/7 robbery, or not every one of them, but most of them, they're going for these Group 6 cards. It's
Oh,
a
you
reference
should
card that
talk
Group
to
6 uses.
Detective Frost. Apparently, him
Yeah.
and someone else did like a huge investigation on it with interrogation tapes and everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But we were trying to go through and find the white card. I was trying to find a good picture of the white card and anything that's written on it. In the last like 20 reports where you can see a white card in the possession, none of them even mentioned the white card. You can see it in the possessions. They didn't point it out or anything like that. I was like, fuck, I'm gonna have to actually go to an evidence locker and find it, hope that it's not broken down and dissolved inside the report locker. And so it's like, if that goes to court in 15 days, that evidence is gone. And they're like, oh, it's in the evidence locker. No, it's not. It falls apart and inside the report locker, and then it's gone forever.
Well, that's something I don't like.
I don't like that either. I
back
wish
in
we
the
crafted
day,
refroze all of
Judge, yes, exactly. Back in the day, man, times were so much. DOJ was in such a better spot. I mean,
Yeah,
I was
it
a
was.
vicious lawyer. Now I look at Tony. I love the guy, right? But he has to be a pussy in there, and that's not his fault. It's because he gets in trouble otherwise. I used to be vicious. I remember my favorite moment was there was someone named, what was her name? I forgot what her name was. So I imagine this. I wake up, right, to go to a court case for Speedy, whose house was broken into, and they found like a quote unquote weapons bench. And you had Murphy Braun, you had this other lawyer, I forgot what his name was. He used to work used to be like a financial lawyer. He had like, Speedy already had 4 lawyers. I come in, they're like, oh yeah, come on, join in. And they gave me the entire trial. Off the cuffs, I did that shit, right? And I looked through the reports and I recognized that the full extent of the investigation by Dan Faley and what was the name? Martel was they took a photo of what looked like a workbench, right? And a photo of what looked like a case and a bunch of things in boxes.
Oh,
that was it.
I know what you're talking about. This was the prop argument.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I remember that case.
And I made them leave. They were so mad at me because I was like, what? Because I go into I'm like, so, and you photograph this? Did the guns have serial numbers? Did the box have any identifying features? Did it have a serial number? I'm looking at the photos and they had some of those. Did you run a ballistics test? Did you do da-da-da-da-da? I was like, how do you know this wasn't a prop?
Look what you did now, Nino.
It was literally like, I remember Martel screaming like, I can't believe this is happening. And she just left the court case. And the thing is though, like, I mean, even to this day, some older cops hold it against me. Like I made a weird argument when in reality, that was never it. I never argued something weird, like as if make believe you're going into a blueprint and like putting a plastic toy down. That isn't what it is.
Yeah.
No, I was making the outlandish claim that based on what you did, which is just a photograph, this literally could just be a prop. Because at that time, the standard was that if you came across anything, right, even blood, right, or you like in the car seats, right, like for example, there was a whole killing of some mayoral member, is that you send it to the lab, and the lab comes back with something, and they didn't do any of that. Because if they brought it to their lab, and I know it was a thing, they'd been like, yes, these are actually 15 AK-47s from like, you know, this stock and da-da-da-da-da. This is bricks of cocaine at this, you know what I mean? They didn't have any of it. They just said, oh, photo investigation complete. And the second thing that I miss was that in these court cases, the judges opened up the evidence lockers, like, you know, the evidence locker reports, let's call them, and could see the evidence, right? And
can't do that now.
No, and man, that shit was good. Imagine if, like, there was a thing in the courtroom and they actually had to take the thing out and put it on a table with, like, you know what I mean? You know, and they do.
Could.
They could. Oh my God, that would be so good. You see the weapon, you see the number of firearms, and you can point at it.
You go to, because legal court is showmanship. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Right. Imagine it's a raid trial. Like, oh yeah, we're having a trial, and the raid results, and you walk into the courtroom, and there are 120 guns laid out on a table for evidence.
Oh my God, yes.
You're like, yeah, that's an impact.
That would be so
right
sick.
Like, oh,
yeah. Instead, now it's just an empty room where people like that court case like put me to sleep. Like, I don't know what the fuck that was. That I know that was just a deposition, but holy fuck. Like,
yeah.
I
go there just for security and shit. And sometimes I just get a lot of other while I'm waiting.
Oh my God.
Man, I don't know. I just wish I wish cops didn't speedrun, and I get why some do, especially shift 2 when it's literally nonstop 78s calls. But some things you can take a couple extra seconds to do the extra work.
I think the problem is that they don't have anyone or anything to like replicate off of. So when you're being I'm sort of speculating here, is that there may be a feeling of like, oh, we need to do these extra things. Why are we being told that? What is the merit? They need somebody to show them this. You know what I mean?
No, it's honestly backwards from that, Nino. It's the opposite. Is they've established a culture of min-maxing. And so they're like, yeah, I found this faster way to do this, and they all share the faster way to do this, and they're like, what's the downside? I don't know. Nothing's come and bit me on the ass about it yet.
Yeah.
Okay, and then that leads to more min-maxing. And then that leads to more min-maxing. And they just keep fine-tuning these things to the fastest possible way to do things with the lowest risk.
Oh my God, he's right.
Just negating all the fact that if you're doing less work, it has risk to it. And now they're trying to get these things down to a science where they just get everything out as fast as possible. And they're like, oh, we missed a couple things. We lose that court case. Oh, well, shrug, move on to the next one. We'll have another one soon.
That's what my problem. Oh my God. That was what my issue with that thing was. It's just like, oh, you got away with mag dumping a vehicle and nothing came out of it. Like that's just, for me, it's just rough. Like, sure, they got away with it. Sure, maybe something will come out of it. But man, the city got that much less safe. And there was that much less trust in the police department, you know?
Yeah.
To me, that's the most damaging thing.
And, you know, it really doesn't take a lot of time to do the extra work. We got some heat because we closed out, not closed out a case, but we concluded a case in 24 hours of terrorism recently, right? They're like, how can you conclude that case that fast? That doesn't make any sense. You're rushing things. I was like, okay, let me give you some perspective. We're not rushing things. We conducted 31 interviews in that 24-hour period. Oh, shit. So you want to tell me that you're rushing things? There's no way you could have concluded that much information that fast.
You were able to do efficiency, yeah. Well, they're probably using the DOJ standard. They spent 3 weeks to get 20 comments in a document.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, we have mountains of evidence. Like, we did thorough analysis of the shooting scene. Like, we literally have breakdowns of like, okay, this is what you're, and I'm not talking about there's a casing on the field. No, there's a, go ahead and step out right here real quick. Find a place to stop, and I'll show you an example of some of the things we analyze, right? I need to use the ground to be able to show you. All right. Say we have a scene. When you're looking at a scene and you have a casing, right?
Yeah.
Oops, not that one. Hold on. All right, you have suspect 1 and suspect 2.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the aggressor in the situation? The 2 is everything. Everything ending with a 2 belongs to suspect 2, and everything ending with a 1 belongs to suspect 1. Who's the aggressor?
Oh, is that
without
a question
knowing the story?
Let me
Without
see.
without knowing the statements,
You
without
got-
knowing what happens, I can tell you who the aggressor is just off of this information.
Okay. Yeah, because it's right. It's mirrored.
So who's the aggressor? Suspect 1 or suspect 2?
I mean unless there's a timeline associated with the 1 and 2, you can't really say they both shot at each other.
Yeah, you can. And this is the deep
Wait.
analysis.
Oh,
of this.
wait. Hold on. Okay, give me a sec. Hold on. This thing shot. The bullet hit here and hit this guy. All right. This other gun shot. It hit here and it hit. What the fuck? I don't know.
So look at it like this: suspect 1. Suspect 1. We'll say suspect 1 is the aggressor.
Right.
They pull out their gun. They shoot suspect 2.
Right.
Blood, projectile. So you can see suspect 1's projectile, suspect 1's casing, suspect 2's blood.
Yeah.
Almost every single incident where we see a aggressor and a defender, the aggressor walks towards their target. The defender, the victim, steps away from their target.
Gotcha. I see.
Suspect 2 fires once, hits suspect 2.
Yeah.
Suspect 2 falls backwards, drawing their gun. As suspect 1 is stepping forward towards them, they are shot by suspect 2. So suspect 2 is now standing behind them. Now suspect 1 is shot by suspect 2's projectile. Suspect 1 is your aggressor.
I'm confused. Aren't these things like equidistant?
Between each other, yeah.
So how do you
But
know
you're saying
this
casing
person
1 is further back.
Oh,
So the original
okay.
position here, is that suspect 1 is here, and suspect 2 is here.
Oh, you know this.
Yeah.
Oh,
and suspect
I got
2
you. I missed that bit.
Is
All
backed
right.
into a wall. So suspect 2 falls back and is stuck in a wall,
Okay, that makes sense.
and they're surrounded.
I got you. Yeah. Oh.
But then on this scene, we had victim 1 was surrounded by suspect 1, 2, and 3's casings, all pointing at that person while the victim was stuck at a wall. Our victim had their back against a wall, and all 3 of our suspects were surrounding them with casings at the victim.
Interesting.
But it's analysis of the evidence, like going through the evidence and knowing like human behavior, people's natural responses to things. It gets, you have to analyze all that stuff and figure out like what happened.
Yeah, by and large, most things are being analyzed by the computer system. That's spitting out something that they put into not a computer system, but a Plinko board that are the SOPs, right? This is the scene. Put it in the Plinko board. Is it hot? Is it attempted murder? ... All right, off to the races. Yeah.
We tried to make a point of this the other day to get it through their minds of like why you need to spend time on this. Officers very often just go to a scene, collect evidence, and they create hot guns, right? You've heard of hot gun charges. And they just go, all casings or projectiles belonging to this scene should be charged with criminal use of a firearm, right? So we were going through and skimming through some things, and we found a report that was the prime example of why you need to do a little bit more work than just throw it down there and go, all guns and casings belonging to this should be charged with criminal use. This report created hot guns. It was all casings from this should be charged with criminal use. Every single casing was a police gun.
Oh my God.
The entire thing was all police guns.
I gotta run off to a meeting.
All right.
Oh, I think I know you got a conversation. You gonna walk from here?
Yeah, I can walk down the street from here.
I know you got a conversation with Turner. I think deep diving this kind of stuff with Turner is gonna be good. I think he's got very similar mindsets, but obviously, you know, it's, you know, every side's always gonna get packed with, you know, their subordinates. Wah, 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 this is happening. This is happening. But,
Oh yeah.
all right.
All
Barrett.
right. You take care, man.
Care. Hey,
Hello.
how can I help you today, sir?
Yo, what's up, Nino?
Oh, hey! You sounded different for a second.
Yeah.
Are you still locked up?
Yeah, we locked up.
Damn, that is fucking crazy. Is it?
Yeah.
Are you not on bail? Like, I don't understand.
I didn't want bail because, like, I'll be honest, that